We're starting the daf. Beseder going. So, we're holding in Zevachim daf. Okay, we're moving forward. We're daf Pidalid right now in the Mishnah. Start with the Mishnah. Already the new parak called Mizbeach B'Kaddish, which is less complicated than the last parak. We had all the Taroivis. Here it's more of a psukim and just knowing things. So let's get into it. Zok the Mishnah. Eilu im olu lo yerdu. The following, if when the Mizbeach doesn't go down. So this is the rule we're going to be learning. When we have something that goes on the Mizbeach, it does not go down. Meaning what? Even though it's possible, even though something wrong can happen with it, still, you don't bring it down. This is how the parak started. Mizbeach B'Kaddish is a royal. The Mizbeach makes whatever goes on it Kaddish. And when the Mizbeach, it becomes Kaddish. We mentioned on Shabbos, for those of you who were there at 8 a.m. on Shabbos, we mentioned the Chakira, the Achronim. The Achronim have a Chakira. What is the definition of the Mizbeach B'Kaddish? Does it mean that when the meat, you take meat which is possible, put it in the Mizbeach, it becomes Kaddish. His pshat is that you elevate it, it became Kaddish. Really, its status was upgraded. Or the pshat, not that it became Kaddish, but that the process of Haktorah started. So I can't stop it in the middle. But once I started, I'm going to let it go. But it didn't actually become Kaddish. So we'll see again, it is a pshat. When you go to the Mizbeach, you suddenly become holy. Yeah, even though a person is a bad person, he goes in the Kaddish to become holy. Charles, once you're there, you stay there. But not because it became holy. We'll see in a moment one nafkamina. Let's see the Mishnah. This idea that things that go on the Mizbeach don't go down has to be royally. It's something that fits the Mizbeach. What is the list of things that are bad? But if you put them up, you leave them there. Halon. Halon means that it went overnight. You had a meat. You had a piece of meat of kachim. You're supposed to get out of it at the end of the night. You let it stay overnight. What happens? It becomes nicer. That's lon. Lon becomes nicer. Lon means sleeps. That's the translation of lon. Something that leaves the Beis Hamikdash, goes out of its place. In case of kachim, it will come back. What's a tome? Tome is meat that became tummy. Or a carbon that had the wrong thought. When he shechted, he had in mind to either do it chutz zmanoi, to eat it at the wrong time, or chutz v'koyim at the wrong place. Or we have psulim kohanim that are not the proper kohanim, receive the blood, and they threw the blood. So something wrong happened with this carbon. All these issues, something wrong happened with the carbon. Listen, I hear your whole list. I agree with your list, except for 3 things. There's 3 things I disagree. These things are not going to be good. You have to go on the Mizbeach. What is it? Shenish chabalayla, shechta at night. Shenish b'chdoma. We didn't have here, the Mishnah did not mention, but it's implied that it's okay. The reader says it's not okay. Nishbach dama, of the blood spilled on the floor. V'yotza dama chutzakloim, and if the blood left the Beis Hamikdash, you also tear it. These 3 comes to say are going to be bad. Sure, tear it. Sure, it says no, it's not going to be bad. So we have a lot of details over here. What's the common thing? What's the rule? Sherab Shimon Oimer, Kol Shipsuloi B'Kodesh HaKodesh B'Kabla. Whatever the psul is in the kodesh, it's accepted. Lo psul b'kodesh, ain't a kodesh b'kabla. If the psul is not in kodesh, kodesh is not accepted. What does it mean psul was in the kodesh? So look at Rashi. Rashi says, "Shepsula l'kodesh, mishebas la'azara nifsala." A psul happened after it came to the azara. So all these things that we're talking about over here, we have overnight. It was Ketut Hazar was good. It came Tomei. Ketut Hazar was good. It was Nishchat Chudas Manor. It came to Hazar, and then he had the wrong thought. It was Nishchat in the night. All these things happened after Ketut Hazar. But we'll see now the list of things that before the Ketut Hazar. Ve'elu sheloya psula v'kodesh. What is the ones that the psul is not the kodesh? Hariveya v'anibur. Riveya means an animal that relation with a human being cannot be a korban. It's not going to be kosher to put in the mizbeach. Why? It became before you get to the kodesh. Hanirba, similar. It had a relationship with Adam. Ve'amuktzeh, designated for Avodah Zarah before it went to Beis Hamikdash. Hanevat was worshipped at Avodah Zarah. Ve'esnan, esnan means what? That it is given as a payment for a zoina, for someone who, was paid for relationship.
Some purposes.
Yeah, the Torah says that there's also a mechir. Mechir is something else, something a little strange, but it always comes together. The Torah comes together. Here means you exchange it for a dog. You bought a dog, I gave you an animal, the animal you kept on his back.
Specifically the dog.
What?
Specifically the dog.
Yeah, mechir, it's called mechir kelef. And then you have that kilayim. Kilayim means a mixed breed. That treifa, sick animal. That Yechezkel was born cesarean. Ubali mumin has a mum. Kiva machshav bali mumin. He was bali mumin is not a problem. You could put on his back. He would push it off of his back. So come on, tell us, what do you mean he pushed it off of his back? We just said, bali mumin can't be his back. So what he's going to tell me? He said he did it with respect. He didn't like throw it away. He pushed it nicely. Kashem Shem Olu do the same way. This whole rule of, so before you go to the sentence, so what is it going to tell us? What is the rule? The rule is anything that happened in the Kodesh. What's that happened in the Kodesh? Things that happened before. So the Shita V'Kobetza here in Tosis La'il have a problem with Rashi, because the problem is Revev and Nirba, for example, relation with Adam, that can happen in the Beis Hamikdash. It could. The animal can have a relation with the Adam in the Beis Hamikdash. You can add to Shita V'Kobetzas. Also, Baal Mum could happen in Beis Hamikdash. It can happen, for sure. It can also be Nevad, can be Beis Hamikdash. So Rashi's definition, the way it happened after Keter Beis Hamikdash is hard to understand. The Shita V'Kobetzas here says differently. He says that it has a hechsher, as we'll see with base, that sometime you'll find it kosher. For example, tameh, when tzibur tameh, you can bring it kosher. Sometimes it'll be kosher. Or it's something that was stayed overnight, shlomim that stayed overnight is okay. So you'll find some hechsher. Tosis says a little differently. He says that it happened after shchita. Anything that happened after shchita, like bad machshavos after shchita, it became tameh after shchita, all the but not before. That's what Tosis says. In Rashi, the first one to say, what Rashi says is, yeah, it could happen after it went to Beis Hamikdash, but it could happen before he saw as well. Mashenkin Lon overnight is only can happen after Beis Hamikdash.
Right.
Yoit says only once it came in.
With regards to the machshava, right? The machshava has to be, meaning has to be done before.
In doing shchita.
So if after shchita, after he did a proper shchita, that mind is eating in the right place, and then after shchita he said, "Oh, I'm having a mind eating in the wrong place." That doesn't have any effect.
Of course, it has effect. Yeah.
Even after.
Yeah.
Even after.
For any one of the avoidance, it can ruin it. But let's say it doesn't matter. The point is shchita is also considered to be like from shchita onward. From shchita onward.
So like throwing?
Yeah. From shchita onward, because the carbon, anything that happens over that's the way Tosis notes. So just to point out that we're showing you have different definitions. What does it mean psul v'kodesh? Rashi tells us, we'll stick with Rashi, but just remember the problem with Rashi. Right. Rashi's psul v'kodesh is that it happened after you came to Beis Hamikdash. I don't think that happened before. So good. It means a cesarean. It happened before. That's not a problem.
Right.
It was a treifa, a sick, happened before. But other ones can happen after. So maybe the Pshat Rashi is not that it happened before, that it must happen after. The other things it must happen after.
Still,
okay.
It'd still be a question on Rashi.
Yeah, but then it's so that could be Pshat Rashi. Rashi says anything that could happen before, so that's called Ein Sol B'Kodesh. Something that the only way it can happen is once it goes into the Kodesh, so that's something which Mizbeach in the Kodesh. The Mishnah goes on and says, Kishem Shim Olu Lo Yerdu, the same way the bad things. If you want a Mizbeach, you don't bring it down. Which again, what does it mean? You have, let's have the scenario in our mind. Let's take one classic example. Became tummy. Okay? Became tummy. Something became tummy. So then is you're not allowed to put it on the Mizbeach. But if you did put it on the Mizbeach, you don't take it down. Right? That's what it is. Now, Kishem Shim Olu Yerdu, the same way if you go to the Mizbeach, you don't bring it down. Kachim Yerdu Lo Yalu. If it did go out of the Mizbeach, you don't bring it back up. It means, while it's on the Mizbeach, you leave it there. But once it goes down, you don't take it back up. There's a little bit of raya that does not become Kaddish. Because if it became Kaddish, who cares? Now it already became Kaddish on the Mizbeach. If it's on the Mizbeach, you leave it there. It came down, you don't. If you have a live animal in the Mizbeach, it has to be shechted already. If it's alive, we bring it down. There's a problem with Toys, because Toys says the whole definition is something that happened after Shechita. If it's what's a Chiddush? But we're adding one more thing. That's what he's saying. We'll see for the next sentence. An oilo that went up to the head of his Mizbeach, tear it. Yeah, you bring it down.
You walked up.
Alive. Shochto b'rosh Mizbeach, but if you did shechita there, if sheteno v'intecheno v'koimo. So the if sheteno means you skin it, v'intecheno means you cut it to pieces. Where do you do that? V'koimo on the Mizbeach. So once you start the process, you do everything over there. We'll see in the Gemara. It's not so posh. It's a machlokes ki you do efshir yochanat. What's the other option? You could take the oilo. You brought the oilo to the top of his bech. Shecht it over there. Just bring it down, clean it up, bring it back up. By psulim, we don't say that. If a psul is on his back, don't bring it back down, because once you bring it back down, you can't bring it back up. So that's the idea of olu. What's up on his back? You don't. The Gemara is just putting. The Mishnah is just putting together. You should know some things. You can leave it on his back, but you can bring it down as well, like the oil. So just to keep that in mind, it has to do with the discussion we had before regarding the chakira. What is the din of when it goes to the mizbeach? Is it the din of kodesh, and that's you should not bring it down, or it's the din if you bring it down, you lose your option to bring it back up. What is the reason you should not bring it back down? But in any case, we talk about the end of the Mishnah seems to segue something a little different. You have a live animal, doesn't become kodesh. Oilo, you shecht it over there, so you bring it down to take out the skin and to cut it.
And
Now,
taught like the case of an ola
because by oilo is that's when you have the whole thing goes on the mizbeach. So in other kabbanis you have to bring it down anyway. But oilo you're going to leave it in the mizbeach, so you already do the whole process on the mizbeach. That's it. Now there's a beautiful Noida B'Yehuda Tzlach. He says, you see over here this idea that once it's in the kodesh, he came into the kodesh, it was good. Then it became bad, you leave it there. If the psul is before not, he says from here learn and you copy tefillah. Tefillah, you have to start with your right mindset. Then afterwards comes in all the mind, you start thinking about business, about family. It's fine. Once the psul is in the kodesh, you're up there, you're going to go down. But you have to come in right. Because if you went into, as Rashi says, you have to go into the kodesh. So at least go in right. That's a halacha, and in Tfilas Shmones, you have to have kavanah in the first bracha. If you have to start right. You start right, then your mind wanders somewhere else. It's okay, but don't give you that. You have to know how you start. That's Islam. The shor machshav on the daf is a shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll send that
It's practically. It's MS.
Yeah, it's like says based on this. He says he brings a remiss from our Mishnah.
Wow.
So we go Tanya, Rabbi Doimer, Zois hi hoilo. Zois hi hoilo is a pasuk says. Pasuk is talking about hoilo. That's mamish in the beginning in Pashat Tzav. Tzav is is born of lemon. Zois hoilo hi hoilo is big to back kol alayla. So what do you learn from Zois hi hoilo? Zois hi hoilo is three miyutim. Zois. He, ha'oila. The oila. So zois is zois, not something else. He, this, not something else. Ha'oila, the oila, not something else. So what is it? Hareilu gimel miutim. You have three mute to come and exclude three things that they do not go on the mizbech. What is that? Pravda nishchato balayla, shechta at night. V'shenishbach domo, that it blood spilled on the floor. V'sheyotzo domo chutzakloim, when the blood went out of the base of English. Shimol Sotevet. If this one of the Mizbech, take it down, he learns these three things. That so not everything you come to do this. Why dafka this? So Rashi tells us these three things they happen before Zrika, right? Because we have different things, we have different stages. Things that happen before the Korban B'chal get to the Beis Mikdash. There are things that happen, doing while Shechita, and there's things that happen before Zrika. It says this is before Zrika, right? Before Zrika was he shechted at night, or he it spilled out of the kloim, or it spilled on the floor. It's before Zrika.
Now, what? Took it out.
I took it out. All before Zrika. Now what about Pigul? Pigul is a wrong machshava, and that happened. Also, he does that shchita, but he's thinking about Zrika, and we know in addition that if you didn't do Zrika, the Pigul is not Pigul. Right? Pigul is only if everything else was done correctly. So in order for the Pigul to be Pigul, you have to do Zrika. So that's after Zrika, right? That's the taste because over here. Okay. Now, so continues. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon Oimer Oilo Einli Eloilo Ksheva. Minayli Rabbis. How do we come and add also? Shinish K'tobalai spilled at night. It spilled. It was shichted at night. Shinish B'chadom was spilled on the floor. Vishiyatodom Chutza Kloim. Then they will be okay. And now he adds everything else. Ve'halon overnight. Ve'ayoytze went out after the shechita, not the blood, the carbon. Ve'atomeh became tom. V'shenishchat chutz l'zmano. He was shechted with the wrong mindset for the wrong time. V'chutz v'koyim, wrong place. V'shikiv is all the list we had in the Mishnah. Shikiv psulim v'zorkos dami, and the psulim accepted and received the blood and threw the blood. Hanison. Now we're adding more. That's this. We just said the three things that Rabbi excluded. He adds the whole list of the Mishnah. He's adding more. He put the oil was supposed to be in the body and he put it on top. The chat doesn't put a pop at the bottom. And whatever was outside was supposed to be in the outside of his back. He put it in the inside of his back. And Pesach v'chatos, which we know in the beginning of the Masechta, Pesach hadit shalishma becomes what? Becomes pasul. Minayin, how do you know all that? Now, as Tosh points out, Rabbi Yehuda agrees with the entire list except the first three. We have a very long list. The Mishnah brought a few. He was bringing a few more. You have the three of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda excludes. In all these cases, Minayin, Tomud Loimar, Toiras ha'oilo, Ribo, Torachas, the Kol Oilim. So it's Toiras ha'oilo, Torachas, the Kol Oilim. They all included. Everything is okay. Shimon lo yordu. Go up, they're going down. Okay, so now that was the list of good. Now let's go to the list of bad. Relationship with the Adam as a male. Relationship with the Adam as a female. Designate David Zara. Worship with David Zara. It's not the same thing. Because muktzeh, you can have an animal which is designated David Zara, was never worshipped. You can have an animal who's not designated, they just worship it. This we learn in Masechet of the Zohar. There's non-payment for a zoina. The mechir, which we said is a mechir kelev, is an exchange of a dog. The kilayim, mixed breed. The treifo, sick animal. The yitzidoifen, born cesarean. All this, how do you know? Tamador is zois. Hey, not going the whole dosh of Abu Zois. He, hoil, zois. Zois. Wow, so you have a list. We have 20 things. You're taking out some and you align some. Why? Now the Torah was mirabah some things and relied some things. Now I have to use my own logic. Say whatever the psul was in the kodesh, let's say use Rashi's shita. Anything that happened after it came to Beis Hamikdash, or cannot happen before it came to Beis Hamikdash, that's okay. You come in, you already started the process, you're okay. But the ones that the psul was ready before, or even if they happen afterward, because potentially it can be before, so then once they go into Beis Hamikdash, they don't become okay when you go to the Mizbech. So it's a Masvar. Again, Tosis will say when the psul happened after Shechita, we said the psul is that it doesn't have extra somewhere else. Says the Gemara, so the Gemara that brings, Rabbi Yehuda has another source. The Gemara's going to take this away in a moment. But right now, the Gemara's trying to bring another source. We brought here just the psukim. So they bring another source. Why do I say that if it went overnight, if the blood slept overnight, it's okay? No, sir. You know why? Sherilon kosher b'imur. By blood, if the blood stayed overnight, it's kosher. How do I know? Why? Because if the fat stayed overnight, it's kosher. Lan b'imur kosher. How do you know that if the fat stayed overnight, it's kosher? Lan kosher b'bosor. Because by meat, if it stayed overnight, it's kosher. When? When is it kosher? By shlamim. Shlamim can be eaten for 2 days and 1 night. So eat it for the first day, you wait the night, the next day you're still eating it. So it doesn't become kosher at the end of the night. Good. That's long. So we said that by blood and fat it's okay, because by meat it's okay. Yoitze. Why yoitze is okay? Sha yoitze kosher bebama. Because by bama before Beis Hamikdash was built, there's no yoitze, there's no limitation. I can do whatever I want. There's no yoitze. Tameh. What tameh? We do find tameh because when a tzibur is tameh, you bring a korban. You still bring a korban. Chutzizmanoi. Why is chutzizmano work? That's a little before. By pigul, you need to have everything else kosher in order for the pigul to be a pigul. Pigul is the wrong thought, but it does. If the zrika is not a good zrika, so it will not become pigul. So it is good enough for piguls. It's good enough for that too. Chutzizmanoi will be chutzizmano. Chutzizmanoi is equivalent to chutzizmano. Shekiblu psulim v'zorkas dama. What about psulim that receive the blood and through it? Behanech psulim the chazul avodat tzibur, the ones that were avodat tzibur, which means tameh. If Am Yisrael is tameh, today everybody's tameh. Something b'sveish will be built. Am Yisrael will do betuma, right? They do betuma. That's one of the big questions on Chanukah. Getting the Chanukah is Hashem in 1 week, right? Getting the Chanukah. It's a shiloh, the big shiloh of the. Let's leave it to the end of this year. It's a Geshmaka thing to know. But let's just first of all, what's one of the readers saying? The only reason all these things are mutter, if they go on this back, because we find sometimes that they work. Sometimes. Meat can be kosher overnight. So we found overnight which is kosher. Bama, you can be out of this place. Tameh, because there's tumah b'tzibur. Even the Kohen Tameh also, we talk about Kohen Tameh b'tzibur. We find it okay. Says the Gemara, so 1 second. Let's take the first example. You're learning that if you have overnight by blood, it's okay. Because we find overnight by meat, by fat, overnight by meat. By meat, that's the mitzvah. By shlamim. Shlamim is supposed to eat for 2 days and a night. So how can you learn one from each other? Look at Rashi. Rashi says, he says, there's 2 examples. One is the basar, one is yoytze. By bama, that's the way you do it. There's no mechitzas. So you're going to think, because we found by bama it's okay, that if it goes out of mechitzas, also here. There's no mechitza. Because we found by shlamim, that's what we eat, that's the way you're supposed to do it. How can you learn to something which you're not supposed to leave it overnight? So you can't say, we found something like, tameh, you're not supposed to bring korban b'tumah. When the tzibur is tameh, okay, you do it. But by shlomi, that's the way to do it. So how can you learn from there? So the more you're right. No. Remember, the more I had zois toiras ha'ila, and we learn 3 miyutim for each one. Zois toiras ha'ila. That's not this. Rabbi says we found it okay. That's just he brings it as an example, as a nice idea, but that's not really the source. And that goes back. The Shittim Kovetz said, if you remember, what is psula b'kodesh? Psula b'kodesh means that you have something kosher like this. The problem Shittim Kovetz is the Gemara wanted to say that. The Gemara says that doesn't work, and the Gemara says you learn from a pasuk. So maybe I should go to say that's what the pasuk teaches you, but through the pasuk you know what it is. But anyway, the Gemara says we wanted to say that the reason of Yudai is because we found something that's kosher. So the Gemara not necessarily. You just learn from a diuk of the pasuk. Says the Gemara. I'll just see a few more lines. Someone who shechts an animal in the night. What did Rabbi Yehuda say when shecht at night? What did Rabbi Yehuda say about shecht at night? That's one of the 3 things Rabbi Yehuda come to exclude. So we spoke about all different psulim. Rabbi Yehuda says if shecht at night, all the lo yerdu. If it goes on mizbeach, lo yerdu. It's out. Now, just one more thing just to add to this. In general, this concept of olu lo yerdu. Olu means, when the mizbeach, they won't go down. It means it's still some kedusha over there. But if you say olu yerdu, means there's no kedusha at all. So you go to the mizbeach, you're out. Right? Shechted at night, according to Rabbi Yehuda, out. It means it has no kedusha. So what's the chiddush? We're going to skip the parentheses. If you did it outside of Beis Hamikdash, you're chayav. The only thing they have a problem to do outside is something that has kedusha. According to Rabbi, this has no kedusha. So chayav. Why? It says the Gemara, the Piyah Mud Aleph, lo yiteh pchuto mishoichet b'chutz umale b'chutz. You know why? What happens if you do it, the whole thing outside? Someone takes a carbon, shuts it outside. Is it chayav al shchuti chutz? Yes, that's a class of shchuti chutz. Shchuti chutz is an issue to take a carbon and do it outside. So if I do it inside in the night, it's not good enough for shchita, but it's still, it won't be worse than doing it outside. So in the minute the Torah told you doing it outside is a problem, the Torah will tell you you're right. There's no kedusha, but still you're chayav on it if it's a carbon. Basically, not a problem, I'll tell you. Someone who takes a bird, how do you kill a bird in a Beis Hamikdash? With a finger. You say he didn't do it with a finger, he did it with a knife. He did it out, and then he bring it outside as a carbon potter. He did the shchita outside, chayav. According to your logic, if you say that anything that outside is bad, so inside, even though it's bad, it's still going to be working to make it a problem. So if you do shchita of the oif, why should shchita of the oif inside be worse than doing shchita of the oif outside? Tiyufto. Your logic really, that tells me the logic is a problem. Shechting an oif inside is like as if you killed it. Meaning, in Beis Hamikdash, the only way to kill an oif is with a finger. If you kill an oif inside with a knife, it's not considered to be that you shecht it. It's considered to be that you just choked it. That's not shchita. That's your shchita. Shchita of an oif, killing, slaughtering an oif with a knife inside is not slaughtering. It's just killing. And that's why
it's not even a carbon.
It's not a carbon, right? So that's why, like, if you kill the carbon, you're not chayav it, not saying chayav it. So that's where we're going to stop here today. So let me just end this. So we spoke about, just to mention this, the idea of the tumah. Tumah utru b'tzibur. Whenever you have a tzibur, you don't have no problem to bring a carbon. We said, we build, everybody's tameh, we're going to bring the carbonis. So ask the Bnei Yeshua, this is the question of the Bnei Yeshua, very famous question of Bnei Yeshua. We know what happened. Chanukah, everything was tameh, but they found one jar of shemen zayzach, and they brought it to use it. Now that we learn in Kachim, now you can understand this. There's a lot of lumdus that goes down in Chanukah that's to do with Kachim, because we talk about Kachim. So what's the problem? What do we need oil? The oil should be kash, should be tar. He found one jar of Kohen Gadol Chosam. Why do you need to be tar? It doesn't have to be tar. If everything is tameh, what's the din? Tuma hutru b'tzibur. So what is this big issue where they found that one jar that was sealed and you can use it, and if you do not find it, if I use a automatic one. So what's the big nace? Remember the nace is one of the nace we found. Why? What do you need? It says the Bnei Yeshua. So it says the Bnei Yeshua, an unbelievable yisoid, and this is the yisoid of Chanukah. Really, if you think about it, that's it. It says because the Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't want us to have a parve halakas neris. You're right. You could bring a tummy. But Akash Baruch Hu wanted us to have it perfect. So when we found this shemen zayzach, it was a kiss from the Rebbeinu Shalom. You don't need it. But I'm showing you the special love that Akash Baruch Hu loves you. He's giving you a thing you don't really need, but it should be perfect. And from this comes the whole Chanukah. The whole Chanukah is that we have your relationship with Akash Baruch Hu. We're not just having the minimum amount. We're having much more. We're having more than we need. That's the part of the gilui of the chiddush of Chanukah. Talk about it a little bit more in a different time. But let's stop over here. Hashem, Be'ez Hashem, continue from here tomorrow morning.
Amen.